Hey, this is Angel One going again here for part 2 of Civil War, BLM, and Antifa. And just a quick correction: from what I watched it after it uploaded, the constitutional conservatives are not in the majority. We are actually in the minority. Sometimes my mind just goes nuts when I try to explain some of this stuff. So, I mean, it's just a lot of information to process. But where I left off, I ended with the popular vote and why Trump needs to absolutely destroy this. And if there is any questions about why this is, like I said, it's all referred to in the Communist Manifesto as to why this is how you do it, and this is how you do it. But let's go into a little bit of more why this is probably going to turn into a bloodbath, and how this is probably not, in any way, shape, or form, going to turn into anything other than a complete laughable destruction of both Antifa and BLM if it goes, unfortunately, more or less when it goes into a civil war, if shots ultimately do get fired, if none of the scenarios get met. But it's starting to get a little scary when even your conservative media, the ones who aren't more or less, they say we're the gun crazies or the warmongers, but we really don't want war. We've seen war. The ones who went and served and fought in the war on terror in my lifetime here, the ones who went and fought are all conservatives. I won't say all. Let's rephrase that. Most, an overwhelming majority of them are conservatives. Most of us own a firearm. Most of us are well trained with a firearm, whether it be a handgun, an assault rifle, or a long gun, or maybe a scoped weapon. Who knows? We're well trained with those. And then you have the other side of the fence, and this is where it's going to go to be a complete laughingstock. Because I've seen some of the media reports that come out of CNN. I've seen some of the media reports that come out of some of these other major news networks, even across the pond. This, and I've seen it. Antifa, BLM, the Communist Democrat parties right now are currently rioting in our cities. They're shooting cops on sight. Believe it or not, that just happened in Los Angeles. They're causing riots, they're causing looting. Obviously, we've got Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that got charged with murder for literally planting 2 Antifa guys, one of them being, and blowing the bicep off of a third person. All 3 of these people are known activists. They're honestly, they're all convicted of something too. The one guy that got shot in the face was a pedophile. The one, good shot, man. The one guy that got shot in the heart was a wife beater, and the guy that got his bicep blown off was a burglar. Multiple charges for burglary. Shouldn't have even had a weapon to begin with, and yet he hasn't been charged. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, he's actually in the laws in Wisconsin, and was not legally allowed to have a handgun or any type of weapon like that. Although I think that is a constitutional violation since none of his stuff was felonies. But hey, I'm not gonna dispute it. But that man hasn't been charged with anything. I think he got lucky to walk away that night. He got lucky. Because had it been me on the other end, he'd be dead. He wouldn't have been shot once. He'd have been shot multiple times. Just saying. He just got lucky that it was a 17-year-old. And not a man, someone who was actually trained to do, and hasn't been trained in the realities, in the gruesome and the horrors of war. But here's the going trend right now with what I see when it comes to Antifa and Black Lives Matter. The current threat, since they're burning the cities down and have literally now been caught setting California on fire, and it's all politically narrative driven. But now they're setting forest fires. We know this because we've caught a few of them doing it. So a lot of the reason why California and some of these liberal states are on fire is because of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. We know this because we've caught them in the act doing it. So it can be denied, it can be discredited, but I mean, pictures are worth 1,000 words. But here's the reason why Antifa is currently threatening, same with Black Lives Matter, currently threatening to bring the riots, bring the looting, bring all this violence that they're causing into the major cities out into the rural areas. And I'm going to explain to them, if I've got anyone that's going to watch this from that side of the fence, as to why that is such a terrible idea. It would actually be quite hilarious, and I would, in a lot of ways, like to see you do this. Here's why it would be such a terrible idea for BLM and Antifa. Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin alone, last year, had 600,000 hunting licenses from different individuals filed for deer. Now in Wisconsin, when I had to look this up, there's almost no restriction on what you can hunt deer with during rifle season. So these are long guns, 30-06, 6.5 Creedmoors, 7.62s, pretty much, 30-30s, anything you can think rifle-wise to hunt with that has some decent stopping power to it, that's meant for deer, that can take bigger game down. These are what these people have. The Antifa, I'm going to make this perfectly clear. You come out into the rural areas, into what is quote-unquote Trump craziness, where you guys call it, or the Second Amendment crazies that y'all call us, who have more than 500 million weapons with over 1 trillion rounds of ammo. Hunters out here, even in some of the most remote areas of my home state of Ohio, still do hunt for food. These people are about the nicest, most calm, collected people you meet, yet they make their Thanksgiving holiday and a yearly tradition to sit in a tree stand 4 hours on end waiting to kill something that they can mount on their wall. And they're damn good at it. How do you think that's going to end for you? Wisconsin had 600,000 people alone that did this. Now factor that's bigger than some of the populations of small countries. And they are expert marksmen. They are experts in camouflage. They are expert in hiding heat from infrared. They are experts in hiding scent from dogs or scent in anything. They know what they're doing. And they're taking these shots sometimes at 6, 7, 800 yards. Sometimes more. These are where your competition shooters are too. These guys can literally hit a 5-inch circle, which is about the distance of your chest, in the kill area of your chest. And some of these guys can hit that at 2,000 yards. Consistently. Accurately. Every time they fire the weapon. Antifa, BLM. These people literally sit in a tree and sit in one place for hours and hours on end for the chance to mount a 10-point buck on their wall. And now you want to come in and threaten their families. You want to come in and threaten their livelihood, their wives, their children. Oh, I'm going to sit back with a camera and watch, because that's going to be epically funny. Because these are people out here that have the guns, that have the ammo, that served in the military, that have the actual training, that know what war looks like, and believe me and fought for peace. They came home and they were tired and they want peace and they want to be left alone. Do not, if you value your life, if you value anything, do not do that. Because some of these people who hunt for this will literally get their rocks off building the pile of bodies on their front lawn, calling it Brokeback Mountain. it won't take long. If the people that you are trying to push and have to get involved in this and actually have to take up arms to stop you, it's going to end very quickly and very badly for you. It will be epically funny at the same time because I'll be helping them. I mean, I want to be left alone. I live in a liberal city. I'm a constitutional conservative. I am literally 1 in 100 out here. I'm outnumbered 100 to 1 in this city. In my apartment complex alone, I'm outnumbered between the liberals. I've had BLM protests go on in my parking lot where I've had to stand out there with a firearm to make sure that I didn't have to replace my windows in the morning. You don't want to mess with these people. You don't want to do this. You do not want to go out to the country and bring the looting and rioting to their streets. Here's what's already happening in some of these places where it's taking place. There was the couple rural areas that Antifa and BLM have gone into and started running amok have gotten shot out of the neighborhoods. Yeah, it's happened. It happened recently in Pennsylvania about a month ago now. So, I mean, by all means, you call us gun crazies, you call us this and you call us that, and you say we're part of the problem. We shouldn't have these weapons. These weapons are designed. Yeah, you can say what you want. You can think what you want, but I promise you want to bring these people into this fight and start messing with their lives, they're just gonna drop you from 900 yards away. And then they're going to call and before you even realize what happened, they've already fired the next round because of the hang time of a bullet. Yeah, it's not going to end well. They ain't going to play with you. They're just gonna, let you chase them into the woods, get on their territory where we know the land, where we know how to hide, where we know how to hunt, because we have to in some cases for food. And we'll sit there for hours waiting. Not moving, being silent, very patient, not even going, just for the chance to mount a trophy buck on our wall. Give us a reason? Yeah, give these guys a reason to start mounting you on their wall, and they will. I highly recommend that Antifa does not do this, and I highly recommend that they back off. And they need to cease. The last thing, even though I think it's going to happen and I think it's unavoidable, the last thing I want to see that any constitutional conservative, that anyone who has served wants to see, that came back through the war on terror, the last thing we want to see is another war and another bloodbath. Because you're not prepared for it, Antifa. You're not. You don't want to know some of the things that I've seen in my Marine Corps career. It would scar you. It would shock you. It would disturb you at levels that you don't even know exist. But if you push it, which you are, and you keep coming at us like you are, eventually the pot's going to break and it's going to overflow and we're going to have to fight back. It's not going to be pretty for you. It's going to be over. It'll last maybe a year and a half. And Antifa and BLM will be defeated. Oh, and just so you guys know, it really helps us a lot that you already are wearing a uniform. Oh, and your level 3A armor, I promise you, that you're wearing out there in Kentucky, guarding the Kentucky Derby, where you, ironically, indeed, and took out 3 of your own guys. I mean, bravo. That was epic. I couldn't stop laughing at it. 3A armor will not stop a 6.5 millimeter Creedmoor. 3A armor will not stop a 150 grain or higher 30-06. It will not stop a 308, especially if they have a high velocity, if they have a 180 grain HP round. Some of the smaller rifles like 5.56, yeah, that will stop. It will stop it. However, it will stop the 5.56, but it will not stop the M193 green tips. So the armor that you guys are wearing out to these protests anyway, where you're literally running checkpoints with a jammed .22 caliber. Yeah, I saw the video. Where you're ending and taking out 3 of your own guys. This is the army that you want to bring into the fight against trained United States veterans who have seen combat on their home turf. That's the fight you guys want to pick? I mean, by all means. I mean, the entertainment value alone will be, Hollywood worthy. You'll get a Golden Globe for you'll get a Darwin Award for stupidity. I don't want to see a bloodbath. That's the last thing. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have... None of us out here, none of us constitutional conservatives want to have to take up arms. But I will go into this, and I'll end part 2 here with this. A lot of the media and everyone out there thinks the constitutional conservatives, thinks these Trump guys, these gun crazies, that even though we haven't really actually stood up and said anything, we have not necessarily just kind of been sitting and waiting. There are things we have been doing. And I'll cover that in part 3.